This video is for ages 13 plus and may contain language that may be offensive to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello everyone, Cody the Dragon Samurai here, and today I am gonna have a little rant video. Yeah, one of my first rant videos on YouTube. I know. But yeah, it's on what Hasbro has been recently up to with the Beyblade Burst toys. More specifically with the Slingshot and Hypersphere systems. Now, up until before Beyblade Burst Turbo was ever a thing, Hasbro, for the previous season, released the Switch Strikes, which are basically their versions of the God Layer system Beyblades from Takara Tomy and Sono Kong. And despite the fact that the God chip is not removable on the Hasbro Beyblades, they were still, for the most part, pretty darn perfect. You know, they still retained the gimmicks from their Japanese versions on the layers, and the drivers and discs were also accurate. Even though there's some color differences with different variations. Not variations, but releases, but yeah, whatever. Anyways, Hasbro did really well with the Switch Strikes during the Evolution series. But when Beyblade Burst Turbo came along, Hasbro literally and metaphorically decided to give the entire community the middle finger with the Slingshot systems, which have no metal on the layer, and their drivers sacrificed show accuracy for a stupid gimmick, which is disappointing to me. And same can be said for the Hyperspheres. Like, not only is the metal bits molded into the plastic on the layer, but you can't even remove that piece and customize the layer. The only thing you can customize on the layer is the gotcha chips with other Hypersphere layers. And also the GT discs were turned into core discs for the Hypersphere system, which is disappointing. And also, like with the Slingshot Beyblades, the drivers sacrificed anime and manga accuracy for a pointless gimmick. You know my opinion on that. It doesn't matter about, the original Takara Tomy stuff or the original Japanese version of the anime. I mean, if my memories were erased of that stuff right now, I would still hate these Slingshot and Hypersphere systems. I mean, if you not just only compare them to their Takara Tomy versions, but if you compare them to the Hasbro Beyblade toys we used to get, the Hasbro Beyblade toys we used to get went from being exactly like their Japanese versions practically, to a little less, to pussycat crap. I mean, they're not even based off the Japanese toys. Like, the quality of the Beyblades from Turbo to Rise has dropped severely. From being like, oh wow, this is a really awesome Beyblade toy, to essentially a McDonald's toy. I mean, these are beneath a McDonald's toy. Which is really bad representation. I mean, let's face it. None of the Slingshot or Hyperspheres feel accurate at all. I mean, let's face it. For example, on this set of Achilles here, these clear parts here is supposed to be metal on the layer. And the drivers are not Slingshot drivers. And I also mentioned earlier that the metal parts on the GT layers are actually their own separate piece, which you can customize with other layers in the line. And of course the discs are not core discs, and of course the drivers for the GT blades are not hypersphere drivers. And they're actually represented that way in the show, actually. And so both the slingshot and hypersphere blades are pretty horrendous for having no metal on the layers and sacrificing show accuracy for a stupid gimmick. The minimal compatibility between Hasbro and Takara Tomy. The blades feel cheap. And really the only positive I could say about the slingshot and hyperspheres is that for the most part they retained most of their gimmicks from the Takara Tomy versions. And yeah, in that regard they do well, but everything else they don't. Which is really atrocious representation. I mean, regardless of Japanese toys or anything else, like compared to previous Beyblade toys, needless to say, the quality of Hasbro is embarrassing right now in terms of Beyblades. There are very few good releases in the Turbo and Rise toy lines, which is disappointing. So unless you're a huge, die-hard Hasbro fan, or if you're like every single Baytuber where you have to spend your hard-earned money on every single Beyblade Hasbro released, I would skip on these slingshot and hyperspheres. I really do not recommend these at all. They're extremely crappy Beyblades. And they're an absolute disgrace to previous Beyblade toy releases. Not even comparing them to their original counterparts, so definitely skip the slingshot and hyperspheres. They're just bad, I'm sorry. Of course, I'll always be a Beyblade fan until the end of time, but until either Hasbro cleans up their act and actually goes back to copying Takara Tomy, or at least loses the toy licensing rights to another company that could do the Takara Tomy toys justice, like Spin Master or Mattel or something, I highly recommend you get the original Takara Tomy toys, regardless of import charges. Trust me, you will not regret it in the slightest. But yeah, Hasbro, if you're watching this video, please listen to my words and the words of other Baytubers with the same or similar complaints. And keep in mind that this isn't me being a hater. This is me giving you constructive criticism because I want your toys to improve from what you're doing with the slingshot and hypersphere systems. And if you refuse to listen, then I'm sorry, but this is the end for you. So yeah, that's my quick little rant on the slingshot and hypersphere system Beyblades. But tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. And along with that note, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on social media. Links in the description. So until my next video, see you later. Thanks for watching my latest video. Be sure to subscribe for more videos. And yeah, this is Cody the Dragon Samurai, signing off.